thanks to the support as a channel member, Jack Brassington. It's the final day of the season. We've got 2 potential routes into Europe and the Europa League final coming up. We did not think we were going to be here 3 or 4 days ago. Hello and welcome to part 10 of my FM24 beta save with Brighton. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our last game of the Premier League season at home against Spurs. A win could get us into Europe before we worry about what comes next, because what comes next is the Europa League final against Inter. And we know if we win that, there is a spot in the Champions League up for grabs for next year, as well as a trophy, which the whole goal of the save at the start was win a trophy. So would be very nice, especially after the start we had this season, to end it with a trophy. But as you can see from the league table, 1 game remaining, only the top 7 guaranteed European qualification spots, although I suspect that does turn into top 8. I think we're already there, because if we have a look at the league rules, you can see top 4 going to the Champions League group stage, next 2 are Europa League, and then 7th, which is currently Newcastle, is the Conference League. However, the top 2 clubs on the coefficient thing get an extra Champions League group stage spot, which then bumps everything else down. At the moment, England are top of that. So if that's the case, top 5 in the Premier League goes into the Champions League. And as far as I know, I think what happens from there is the 2 Europa League spots move down one. So that becomes 6th and 7th, and 8th place then goes into the Conference League. So if we move up into 7th place, we're guaranteed minimum Conference League, but it could turn into Europa League. If we finish 8th, we might not be in Europe at all, but we might be in the Conference League. And then regardless of where we finish, if we win the Europa League, we're in the Champions League. Next season could be 4 very different scenarios. The important thing is the board and the fans are already absolutely delighted with how this season has gone. And actually, we just had an email through confirming we are the only club in the Premier League who've done this season on a net transfer profit. This is a LOLLUJO video. I am still Kev, but we've done this on a net transfer profit, which is, I need to lie down. But it's a big net transfer profit as well, which I'm very proud of. We've not just gone in here and thrown money around like a madman. Let's go and beat Spurs, hopefully get into 7th place, and then we can worry about the Europa League in a minute. So this is our team. It's Lucas Perry in goal, a back 4 of Walker, Peters, Dunk, Gatti and Lewis. Berg and Gross in midfield, Almada, Sanset and Bailey, then behind Pedro up front. As you can see, despite the importance of the league game, the Inter match is in 3 days. We are rotating a little bit. Ferguson, Fati, Estupinian, amongst others, down on the bench as we rest them to make sure that our most key players are fit for the Europa League final, because that is, if we can only win one of these matches, we'll win that one, thank you, because 8th place in the Premier League is fine, and a trophy in the Champions League is double fine with bells on. We'd very much like that. Why are Spurs wearing their home kit and we're wearing our away kit when we're at home? I don't understand. Surely we should be in our home kit and them in their away kit. Or does their away kit clash with our home kit? I guess it does. Is their away kit blue? And they managed to wangle it so that they can wear whatever they feel like and we have to wear our away kit at home. This doesn't feel right to me. What also doesn't feel right is going behind inside the first minute. I'm hoping this is just the universe respecting my wishes and we're going to lose here and then go and win the Europa League, because, like I say, a trophy and a Champions League spot, much more welcome than what could potentially just turn into a Conference League spot. And if Newcastle win, none of it matters. Although, to be fair, Newcastle are losing at home to Chelsea at the moment. Agent Caicedo doing the business for us. We sent him there specifically to score for Chelsea on this last day to give us a potential route into Europe. Almada then dances into there. It's lovely work from him, but he didn't have the oomph behind the shot at the end of it to test the Spurs goalkeeper. Remains 1-0. Chelsea are now 2-0 up. Jackson has now scored for Chelsea as well. So that 7th place spot is there for the taking. We're going to go attacking in response to that and hopefully find a way through. We did play Manchester City in our last game as well, which we lost, as you would imagine. And you would also kind of expect us to lose against Spurs as well. So I'm not really expecting that 7th spot. It would just be nice to achieve it. I mean, Spurs are probably thinking in terms of pushing into a Champions League spot. Little do they know, because they probably haven't read the rules, if they finish 5th, they're probably in anyway, and they don't need to worry about it. Although, I guess the potential exception is, if we win the Europa League and we get the Champions League spot, Do Spurs still get it for the 5th place one? Can you have 6 teams from one country in the Champions League group stage? I don't actually know the answer to that. Let me know down in the comments section. If there's a scenario where Spurs can beat us here, think they're in the Champions League, then we go and beat Inter and stop them getting into it. That's the perfect scenario of all perfect scenarios. Walker-Peters. What a goal from Kyle Walker-Peters. Goodness me. I actually had to have a word with him before the match because he's been rubbish lately. I actually told him off for his recent performances, and I almost never do that, but he was awful against Man City, and he has responded with a fantastic solo effort against Spurs. Look at that. I mean, he's got no business doing it, but it's 1-1 now, and all of a sudden, that 7th place spot is looking attainable again, potentially. That should put us level on points with Newcastle, grabbing a point back. I'm not sure why it doesn't. Newcastle are losing. We're now drawing. Why are we still 1 point behind them? We're not. We're now level on points with them, but we are behind them on goal difference. So we either need to win or we need Chelsea to score another 4 goals, which seems unlikely. So we've got to push for the win here. Almada's going to come off for Ansu Fati. Leon Bailey's going to come off for João Pedro. And the logical thing is take off Pedro and bring on Evan Ferguson. I know we were supposed to be saving these boys for the Europa League final, but an opportunity has presented itself to squeeze in potentially to the Europa League. Obviously, if we don't win the Europa League, which is likely, we're probably not going to beat Inter. It would be nice to get back into that same tournament again next year, and this is the way to do that. We've got tired little legs, though, on the pitch and not much in the way of attacking options to bring on. We'll bring on Pizarro for Gross. We don't really have anyone else who can play in the attack sat down there on the bench. So I think what we'll do is we'll take off Rico Lewis. Walker-Peters can move over to the other side and Ito can come on at left back. We'll continue to rest Estupiñán ready for the final. Estupiñán's probably leaving this summer. He's still in a mood about that team talk against Liverpool forever ago. So I think I've kind of made up my mind that he's the next one out the door to continue the running at a transfer profit thing that we enjoy so much. And this is probably the final highlight of the game. And unfortunately, it is Spurs. Unless we score from a counter-attack here, we're finishing 8th. So we might not be in Europe. I think we still get into Europe. We might not be in Europe. I think we get in anyway. But obviously, we want the Champions League. Now it's there for the taking. There you go. Spurs rubber stamping it on the last day. How unrealistic is Football Manager? Richarlison's just done a goal. He scored 8 this season. That seems very, very unrealistic. Pedro Porro with the cross. He is a winger, you know. If you watch my world record save, you'll know he's a winger. And he's proving it again there by putting in a lovely cross. And there is your confirmation of the 8th place finish. It doesn't affect the club vision one way or the other. And is that confirmation that things have trickled down? No, we still don't have confirmation of Spurs in the Champions League. I think they are going to get it. But maybe it depends on whether or not we win the Europa League. There is a chance that decision isn't made until after the Europa League final because you can only have 5 teams in. Oh, this could be... I want to win it even more. Well, here we are then, boys and girls. It is the Europa League final. We are going as full strength as we can possibly go for it. It's Perry in goal, a back four of Estupiñán, Dunk, Gatti and Lewis. Berg and Gross in midfield. Fati, Almada and João Pedro supporting Ferguson up front. If we have a look at Inter, they have finished second, or they've not finished second in Serie A. In fact, they could still win Serie A. They need a massive goal swing over Milan on the final day. I mean, they don't play? Wouldn't it be fun if they played Milan? So they're probably going to finish second. They're already in the Champions League for next year. They don't need to win this. We need to win this. So they should take that into account and let us win it. Who are we giving squad? Oh, one of these kids that we put up onto the bench. There you go. We've filled our bench with 12 substitutes. It does mean that James Milner and Danny Welbeck get to return from the depths of the under-21s to sit on the bench for this match. I guess their experience in games of this kind with bigger clubs. I don't know if Welbeck ever played in a final for Manchester United, but presumably, or Arsenal maybe. Presumably Milner did for Liverpool many times. You would think he's probably a Champions League winner. it's handy to have them around, even though this is going to be their final contribution to life at the club. Not good enough to get them in the team, but handy to have them around. And it's Estupinian with a corner. First highlight of the game. Cross comes in, looking for Gross. Why are we aiming for him? Almada plays it to Berg. It's back to Almada again, and he whacks it, but it goes over. And to me, these kits are a little bit clashy. So in the league, we have to wear our away kit because Spurs have white kits. In the Europa League final, we can wear blue and white stripes, while Inter wear blue and black stripes, and that's okay. Make it make sense, boys and girls. But it remains 0-0 as we head towards half-time, and now it's Inter with a corner of their own, and it's I can't tell if it's headed. I don't know what's going on. The kits all look the same. Lautaro Martinez has got his 32nd goal of the season. He's quite good, isn't he? And I'm trying not to be too downhearted about it because I kind of expected it to happen all the way through. I don't expect to win this. We've had a very easy run through to the final. We've not really played anyone you would expect to beat us. This is the first tough opposition we've had in the entire tournament, and we're probably going to lose. And I guess that's okay. But it's the final now. We're at the Dublin Arena. We're closer to home than Inter are. And we kind of dream a little bit. Wouldn't it be lovely to be in the Champions League next year? Imagine the players we could attract if we were in the Champions League next season. We would also be humiliated as part of the Champions League, so it's probably for the best that we're not going to go in, but let's go attacking anyway. Let's at least give it a go. It's been a close game, and Inter aren't exactly ruining us. They've scored once from a set piece. Ansu Fati is tired. Leon Bailey isn't really fit, but he's going to come on and play on that right-hand side. Patrick Berg makes way not for you know what? Experience. James Milner's coming on. I wasn't expecting to make that substitution in this match. James Milner is on, and I think I'm going to put Pedro up front with Ferguson. I'm going to put Almada out onto the wing. João Pedro's going to make way for Pedro, and we're going to go with two up top. We've got 20 minutes to go. We've got to at least try and win the game, haven't we? A 4-2-4, attacking mentality, and James Milner's around. Danny Welbeck is there to come on if need be, but let's offer some encouragement and hope that, if we can get a chance to fall to Ferguson or Pedro, they are both natural goal scorers. We just need to create that chance, and we're not really doing it at the moment. Inter, comfortably a better team than we are, and at any moment they could double their advantage. But XG-wise, it's relatively even. In fact, all of the match stats relatively even. Inter have had a little bit more possession, but aside from that, there's really not a lot separating these two teams. But Inter are just happy keeping the ball and not necessarily doing anything with it, just stopping us from doing anything with it. Ferguson is shattered and has had a really poor game. Welbeck's coming on as well. We've got Welbeck and Milner on. This is where we really demonstrate that we're not quite ready to compete at this level. We've got Milner and Welbeck on in a European final. We've just run out of players, and there is work to do this summer transfer window. I've demanded more there, which is a little bit harsh because we're not supposed to win. We've done very well. It would just be nice to have a proper attacking highlight, but it doesn't look like it's coming. I really hope we get the consolation prize of the Conference League. I don't know that we're going to. They didn't need this. They were in the Champions League anyway. We have to be polite and watch it. There I am. Is that me? No, I don't think that's me. Who's this guy? Why is he getting so clappy? I think I've just gone home. Yeah, I've seen enough now. Thank you. Very good. Very upsetting. So we haven't won a trophy. Boo and hiss. Do we get confirmation that we're in? Oh, we've got to criticise Ferguson, who's been poor the last few games as well. Do we get confirmation that we get Conference League now? I think we possibly... There you go. They've all dropped their expectation to be registered because we're not in it anymore. That's handy. So I don't think we've got any outstanding promises. We do have players we need to get rid of, obviously. I think the Champions League final has to happen before this is fully resolved. So we're just going to jump forward to that and see if Spurs get Champions League and everything else filters down. I guess it depends on who's in the Champions League final. If it's an English club who haven't already qualified, that could be problematic. The final is Arsenal against Bayern. Arsenal are already qualified. So theoretically, even if the thing that I think is going to happen doesn't happen, if Arsenal win, does that trickle down? Let's find out, shall we? Before we find out about what's going on with the Conference League, we have got our budgets for next season, which are very nice. transfer special incoming tomorrow. We're going to have a fun time. And there we have it. The news has come through. We have qualified for the Conference League. It doesn't even explain why. Presumably, yeah, Spurs have got in. Did Arsenal win the Champions League? I don't know that it even matters. Arsenal did. So Arsenal have won the Champions League. And I don't know whether it's the coefficient thing or Arsenal winning the Champions League. One of those two has gifted Spurs. Imagine if Arsenal winning the Champions League got Spurs into it. But either way, 5 Champions League spots, 2 Europa League. We get the final Conference League spot. So we are in Europe again next year, albeit in the Conference League. But you know what? We've just made it to the final of the Europa League. We're going to strengthen this summer. We could genuinely win the Conference League next year. And I am serious that we should be pushing to qualify for the Champions League as well. So all of that is to come soon. Tomorrow, transfer window. Champions League a little bit after, probably, maybe. We'll see. But if you enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.